traffic officers are attending to incidents of public violence on the city's N2 highway. The Western Cape taxi strike enters now its second week, much to the dismay and safety concerns of commuters. This morning, there's also been a taxi blockade in Delft and a bus torched at the Botchard's Quarry Road exit. Tourism in the province has also not been spared after the UK had issued a travel alert to its nationals following, of course, the violent clashes between taxi drivers and police in Cape Town. Our senior reporter, eNCA's Ayesha Ismail, is there for us and following this story. Joining me this morning to give us some context, Ayesha, a very warm good morning to you, a colleague. Quite concerning. It seems like it's a whole lot of areas that are affected due to this taxi strike. We're talking the economy, we're talking pupils and tourism, amongst other things. And I just wonder if there will be some sort of long sustainable intervention to bring this to a stop. Good morning.
Good morning, Tumela. Well, of course, you are right. A number of roads have been closed, the N2 inbound and outbound in terms of the airport approach road. And, of course, there's a number of violent incidents being reported on the roads in the city of Cape Town. But I'm now joined by the Premier of the Western Cape, Alan Winde, who called an urgent cabinet meeting this morning precisely to deal with the ongoing taxi violence. Premier, what was the outcome of that meeting?
So, I mean, we actually have been meeting every day over this weekend, and then every morning while this strike is on, Cabinet will meet. So this morning's meeting was just to get an update where we were. Of course, we saw from 4 o'clock this morning already activity happening, roads being blocked, buses being burnt. And really counter to what we're trying to achieve. There were a number of agreements as the weekend progressed. Unfortunately, last night there was a misunderstanding between police and the meeting that was taking place, where some security guards for the taxi industry, or Santaco, were kind of approached by the police because they were armed. We've got a World Cup happening, or it was happening last night, so I think there was high alert, and I think that caused the Santaco guys to leave the meeting, unfortunately, because I think we were nearly at a space where we could get back to the task team meeting. Unfortunately, then it's escalated once more, and as you've seen, huge blockages and I said destruction. So Cabinet gets an update where we are on our roads, on policing, on the activities that we are busy with, from interdicts from a government side. We know there's an interdict from Golden Arrow Buses side. There are legal processes, there are policing processes, there's engagement between national government, provincial government and local government, and then of course we also need the report backs from each of our departments, the impact on education, the impact on healthcare, the impact on social development, and of course the main impact on citizens of this region. So citizens can't get about their day, they can't go to school, they can't get to work, they can't get to their healthcare facilities. And, of course, that's paramount for me. How are we enabling the citizen to continue? I'm all for our system saying we enable strike action. Anybody can protest, anybody can raise their issue, but there are rules within protest. And, you know, the industry could withhold their service as part of their strike action, but they cannot take other people's rights away, and that really is making me very, very angry. You know, we need to be able to clear these things out the way and get down to finding out what those blockages are, and let's fix the problem. Let's not destroy the economy and take people's rights away.
Premier, what are some of the solutions that came out of your cabinet meeting this morning?
Okay, so today wasn't really about finding solutions for the industry. That was already worked out on Friday, saying, you know, there are areas where there are concerns from the industry side and there are concerns from government side. We need to make sure there's law and order, and the industry are saying, well, maybe too heavy-handed here and there. We said, fine, let's get, and I think we reached an amicable situation where we've said, all right, well, maybe it's too heavy on this side, but we're not relinquishing anything with regards to reckless driving or, you know, non-licensed vehicles, etc., because a taxi is also a public transport space. That's why we have regulation. We've got to make sure that the citizen who's being transported is safe and in a system that works well. So, of course, there's conflict there, but that's why the task team was in place. And I think we reached a space where everybody said, well, we can now get back to the table and start saying, well, what are the other refinements we need to get there? So that's why it's absolutely unacceptable, I think, what the regression that happened today. And we need to make sure the law is followed. And I believe a lot more arrests this morning, which is really good to see. I believe that the blockage on the airport has now been removed again. So we need to make sure we get things open. People can go about their daily lives, and of course the industry must come back to the table. But there's a meeting happening between national government, provincial government, and local government with the Santaco now. And my message to them is, we've put it down at the bottom line. We will not sit around the table with you while you are disrupting the way that you are disrupting, while you are burning the way you are burning. You need to refrain, and then we'll come back and have that discussion.
That meeting that's taking place at the moment, is the National Minister of Transport attending that meeting as well? Yes,
correct. That's a National Minister of Transport, the Provincial Minister of Mobility, and the Maker Member for Transport in the City. So that's government. I also had a discussion this morning with the Police Minister. I've had a discussion with the Leader of the Opposition in the province, making it clear that also government is united. We meet with the industry as a united body, and of course political parties. I'm also saying, everybody, all political parties want to jump in on this. They must do what they need to do, but don't come and get involved in the middle of it. I've also said that I believe that some political parties want to be in the meeting with government and Santaco. That's unacceptable. Government will meet with you, but it's very clear from my point of view to say, we're meeting with you, here are the three things, and we are now leaving this meeting. When you refrain from your blockages, from your burning, etc., we will then come back and see if we can talk again.
But Premier, ordinary people, the ones that are being most affected, are actually looking to you as the Premier of the Western Cape for solutions. Do you perhaps think that, and I know that the Army is called in at a last resort, is this perhaps not an opportunity now in order to bring about some calm so that people can go to work again, so that children can go back to school, and so that the hospitals can function normally?
So it is part of my next discussion with General Bekeklele, with General Patakile, because it will be his call. I know that we have extra public order police in the province, and a whole lot of police have been deployed. It will be part of my discussion. Does he need extra reinforcement? Because we've got to make sure that it is safe for citizens to carry on with their daily lives while the taxi industry decide on whether they want to call calm and then come back to the table. And of course that is another resource that we can use. We will make sure that we get whatever resources are available to us to make sure that we bring calm, to make sure that we find a resolution to this. But we also must make it very clear that we need the rule of law. We cannot have lawlessness in the midst of all of this. So, quite frankly, all the video is being studied. We've got to make sure that those perpetrators, those people who are throwing petrol bombs, and of course the terrible shooting of one of our officers last week, Friday. I mean, that's just absolutely. This has got to be dealt with decisively, and there's got to be consequences.
Thank you so much for your time. And that was Premier Alan Winde talking about the ongoing taxi violence here in the Western Cape. And we know that there are more than 1,500 law enforcement officers being deployed across the Western Cape. And that, of course, includes members of the South African Police Service. And, of course, Alan Winde is saying that if needs be, he may call in the Army.
Yeah, listen to him there, Ayesha, saying those conversations with Bekeklele are still ongoing at this point. And I suppose at the back of the shooting of the law enforcement official, quite concerning indeed to see how the violence has escalated. But we'll leave it at that, colleague, as we continue to delve more into the scenes out in Cape Town, where the taxi strike by Santaco is continuing until the 9th of August. Well, Santaco have distanced themselves from the violence, saying that they do condemn any criminal activity and do not encourage any of their drivers or operators to partake in, of course, some of the violence that we have seen since they have taken to strike. We'll leave it at that, and that's my colleague eNCA's Ayesha Ismail.